I'm being told we are live according to PlayStation, and you know me quite well by now from me doing this since mid-season 41, that I'm very skeptical over what PlayStation says regarding streams. So, just bear with me a moment or two while I also set up standings, because again, it's another one of those weeks where I don't rock up until literally 2 minutes before the race. So, just bear in mind a few seconds, as it is season 42, round 6 I believe it is, at Brazil. Yes, it is round 6. As I can see, people are tuning into the live, which is perfect. So, hope you all are doing well. Just found out my audio is still coming out in the lobby, so I'm going to create a closed party quick, just so then I don't distract them while they're driving, and it's optional as to whether or not they race and listen to my very unappealing voice, to say the least, as we are getting some cars out on track. Unfortunately, it's a rather stripped back event, only 13 drivers as things stand. There's possibility of seeing more as the session goes by. But Danilo, the first car out on track in one of the Mercedes. Hopefully for him, he can have a really good event. He hasn't scored too frequently. In fact, he hasn't scored a singular point so far in the first 5 races of the season, going through the S section, as I actually don't have my Brazil track map on me at the moment, so do bear in mind as we are about to go for the first flying lap of the evening. Just flicked away for a moment, as I'm still setting up while trying to commentate. This is why we need dual commentary in a place like this. But irrespective of that, Danilo round the final corners now to start the first run of today. What can the Mercedes do? Up towards the Senna S's we go. Just go straight to the outside, brakes just before the green comes into play, taking wider apexes, trying to keep the car all intact, and immediately invalidates it and spins through the Senna S's, which is not ideal whatsoever. So let's now actually get that track map up for this session. Just save me a bit of chaos. To be fair, it's already been a rather chaotic day, to say the least. But as long as you are all doing well, that is the important thing. As Spiga going through the first few corners now, chucking the car left, right, left as they go through the S's. Down the Retro Posta goes the Silver Arrow. Will they be able to hit pole position? We will find out in the end of these 15 minutes, as I can't find a track map, so we're going to try and do it all off from my little brain. As I'll be brutally honest, I'm horrendous at keeping names in store. However, Ferragura and the Laranja all executed, and then Bica de Pato as they go through turn 10 now, skidding the car on the softs, hoping it is the way to go. Only driver on the soft compounds, in fact, and doing a 58.2 after the first 2 sectors, completely driving a rally car through the final corner, up through the final high speed, which is Subidos Boxes, and up to the line. What will it be? It'll be a 15.5 to kickstart this session. Then it's IFT Nick up next in the Papaya. He does a 14.3. It does look good for those on the Inters, as Diogo Silva, next man to try and set a lap. Will it be the top? It will only be second fastest, but a big time on the board. 3 tenths off one of your championship contenders, in fact the championship leader, who leads it by 1 point over Passy. and then 3 over Tiago, and 7 over Spiga, who are all present today. So the championship could have another swing in the mix as Danilo goes to 5th fastest. That is a very vanilla lap to say the least, as Harm goes 7th, MB72 up next in the sister Williams. What will it be for them? It'll be a 15.275, putting themselves up into 5th. Tiago round the final corner, over the start finish line he goes, and it's a 14.288, 100th of a second splitting Passy and Tiago so far. Both race winners this season, Tiago round 1 and Passy round 3. But we've had 5 to take the top spot of the pecking order come the end of each race, as Wards serving a qualifying ban from my understanding in only a week on from their race win out in Zandvoort. A rather impressive drive to say the least, as Christian on our out lap, as Yannick has just set fastest lap. We will see if anyone else is trying to set anything competitive. Bell B having a little slide, as most drivers just running in none at the moment for deploy. But Diogo Silva on a push, 48 thousandths up in the first sector, absolute best sector 1 of the evening so far. Whether or not he'll be able to continue that momentum as they go through Ferradura and then Laranja in the turn 6 and 7 complex, down the gears through turn 8, and it does look like it's all about keeping the car intact, as most of these drivers going for higher fuel put them through the longer stints. As now through towards the Curva della So, I believe it's called, trying to remember it off the top of my head, and up to Subida dos Boxes. Will they be able to finish the lap, or are they going to box, is the main question. They're going to stay out and commit over the line for Diogo Silva. It's 5th fastest with 2 tenths improvement. Nick fastest of them all. Junkie Angle hasn't raced in an event or two. In fact, last time they raced was Kota, where you had Alfie covering me, and he only manages to put in 7th quickest for the time being with that run. MB72 on a slow lap, Yannick on a slow as well, Tiago also on one, but the Scuderia of Christian working their way into the final sector now. It's a 57.796 after the first 2 sectors, a fairly mediocre run up to this point. Do they have the top speed, however, to maybe put the threat on to the McLarens? Remember, he raced for McLaren last season. They fought for the constructors. It's only 9th for Christian, however, in the Scuderia, which have had a very lacklustre season to say the least. 3 points in the opening 5 races, 7 points off of Aston Martin. Remember, here in PSGL you have a more compact point system. You get 1 for pole, but then 16 for a win, 12 for second, 10 for third. Then it's 8, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So bear that in mind. Points is not the easiest, however, with only 13 out on track today. Hopefully we can see a few names in the mix to score where we usually wouldn't see them do so. You've got Spiga currently in 11th, which is probably the biggest shock. The man 4th in the standings on 41 points, 7 points away from Nick, only down in 11th on an out lap, about to do a run, as Tiago waiting in the pit lane for a set of softs. As you've got MB72 after sector 1, 3 seconds down. Passy Italia, however, pushing towards turn 4, 32 thousandths down on their current best lap. They've set a time on the soft compounds from my no, not softs, intermediates from my understanding, continuing that momentum on. The softs do tend to see themselves out as decent tyres in these conditions, pretty much matching those intermediates in every single thing they do. As down the gears to third, climbing back up them slowly, fourth, fifth, and then maybe even sixth as they head into the final sector. Currently a tenth down approximately. There must be some time left in it for the sprint up to the line. They've got 80% of the battery to dispose of. They'll use every last drop of it as they cross the line. Have they hit the jackpot? No, they won't. Only 1,000th slower than their previous best, however. A really consistent lap, just showing how good those inters can be, as Christian a quarter of a second up in the Ferrari, fighting the rear end through the final corner, almost like it was reluctant to turn in, but the momentum continuing up to the start finish line. It was a bit of a hold back over the line. It will be 8th fastest for the Scuderia. Bell B up next. Can they go any higher? They'll go 2nd fastest, only about 2 tenths off of Yannick in the Haas, but this is the driver to look out for. It is Thiago in the V-Carb. They led the championship in each of the first 4 races. It was 1st, 2nd, 6th, 2nd, and then they did not race in Zandvoort, and still only 3 points off the championship leader. Such a strong start. Unfortunately, a rather malnourished beginning to their lap, invalidating it in the first few corners. Diogo Silva on a push lap, fighting that rear end, getting very unnervy, quite skittish is the best way to describe it, as through Ferradura and Laranja goes the Alpine now. They've had a fairly decent season. It's much more of one to remember, to say the least. 2 7ths in a row for the Alpine, hoping to get a 3rd 7th in a row. As for some reason, you've got to love, Nico has sent me friend request, which is awkward because he's meant to be in a different league I run and not in amongst these guys for PSGL, PSF2. But anyways, Diogo Silva, absolute best middle sector so far. Surely it could be a lap of dreams for the Alpine, using their battery, using the DRS and getting a toe off your championship contender. Goes 2nd in the end, as I believe Thiago is now starting a new push lap. You've got Danilo rounding the final few corners though, finding time in the Silver Arrow machine. Will they be able to promote themselves up from 12th? They'll only be able to put in 12th, unfortunately, as Nick, fastest man out on track by 4 tenths of a second. Spiga running low on fuel. He will probably be in come the end of this lap, but Thiago on the soft compounded tyres. Are the softs actually able to compete with the McLaren on the intermediates? He's already got such a sublime advantage in the early stage of this event. Could look really good when it comes to their bid at making it a 2nd win this season and a chance to extend their newly gained championship lead over the likes of Passi and Thiago, and also Spiga, who's unfortunately down in P9. But Thiago, absolute best in the middle sector, using all the battery they've got. Didn't get the toe from Danilo, unfortunately, as over the line it will only be a 14.0. Still slower than Yannick, as most drivers into the pits. That's the end of the middle stage quali runs, as Junkie Angle about to start a push lap of their own up towards turn 1, using their battery, braking just before the 50 bollard, shimming it through the left, chucking it over the curb on the right, getting so close to the white line. These drivers measuring each and every steering input to the precise meter, which just shows these drivers' quality, hence why they are some of the second best group of PS drivers in the world these times, within thousandths of world record pace for PS. And they are purely showing it out on track. You can just see Junkie Angle's lines full on, pushing those white lines to a point where he's practically over them, and still not being able to invalidate it whatsoever through Bico de Pato getting back on to the throttle, trying to go down the hill before the run up to the start finish line. What will it be for the Alpine? They're definitely fighting the car with everything that they have left in their ability. As Junkie Angle up to the line, will he improve from 11th? It will be P9, a good jump for them. Unfortunately, it's not anything too miraculous as things stand. Christian is on a push lap, so is not Junkie Angle. I was going to say so is Yannick, but he's just entered the pit in that Haas car. But you do have NB72 and Bell B on outlaps. Also Harm now on one, and surely quite a few cars coming out in the next few minutes, as this is what will be determining pole position and your starting grid for the race. That is due in about 5 minutes time. But will Christian be able to find anything more than his P11? It'll be very nip and tuck. He's 4/10ths up in that Ferrari, an absolute best middle sector, the sector that sees so many purples from the whole field, just showing how evenly matched they are in that complex. Up to the line for Christian, it'll be 4th fastest and so perilously close to the top two, 75 thousandths away in this session. NB72 on the softs, he's actually found, well, lost a 10th in the first sector, hence him backing out. But Bell B up next, can they improve from a 14.195? It's so close, only 2/10ths would put him onto the front row from the third row. Would be crucial for the Saubers. Tiago has just came out of the pit lane, unironically straight into the path of the Sauber, and that is them now backing off from a push lap. Harm going slow. MB72 about to start up a proper run. Spiga also invalidated. So we are going to watch the final set of runs here today. 1 minute left onto the clock, then we're into added time, which is about 3 minutes for those who need that time to finish, as majority of the cars in the middle sector. Junkie Angle has retired from this session. He's a set to 10th at best, but NB72 a 10th and a half up in the first sector, and an absolute best for the Williams. This is very much looking nice, to say the least. They are definitely in hot pursuit of a possible pole position. 15th in the driver's standings. Best result so far this season is 8th. They average about 11th in these races so far. Will he be able to make it one up? Maybe go home P7 here today, which is unfortunately a place Williams have not managed to discover yet. But for NB72, 3/10ths up near enough. Those 3/10ths just putting him into the top two. Will he find the time to challenge Nick on those soft compounds around the final corner now? What will it be for the Williams? It will only be second fastest. So next man to hit the line, Danilo, goes 12th overall. Then it's Passy in the Haas. It's the middle sector. A light. Is he going to be light enough to drag the car to the start finish line and beat Nick? It will not be enough. It's so perilously close, however. A matter of thousandths as Bell B has found himself off. And it's Diogo Silva up next, also on a good lap in the Alpine machine. What will it be? It'll be third fastest for them. And the Papaya unable to improve on their lap. Yannick up next. Yannick goes to the top. A momental lap for them, so narrowly beating Nick. Tiago next. Tiago only goes 4th, unfortunately. And you've got Spiga up to the line, 7th for them. But Harm will go to the top with a lap on the softs. A brilliant lap for the Williams to take pole position here in Brazil. Left it late, had the driest track, and used those softs to the fullest of their advantage. And that is why they will be on pole by 7 thousandths, not thousandths, hundredths of a second over the Haas of Yannick, as Harm probably celebrating like a madman as a result. Take a bow, as that is your pole sitter for season 42, round 6 of the PSF2 division here in PSGL, and it sets up for one hell of a race. But now the question will be whether or not Harm can fend that off, as Yannick and Nick 78 thousandths within, and Passi Italia within a tenth to make it 4th for them. Then it's Tiago in 5th, Diogo Silva 6th, MB72 starts from 7th, Spiga will start from 8th with Christian 9th, Bell B in 10th, Junkie Angle 11th, Danilo 12th, and Wards unable to set a lap due to qualifying bans. As this is now an opportunity for the drivers to pipe down, relax and recuperate for the main race, which will hopefully be underway in a few moments time. So don't go anywhere, because you've got us now, and then when we finish, qualifying for PSF1 should be wrapped, as I do believe you've got Logan on comms there today alongside T-Dub, so definitely check that out. 2 brilliant commentators and a brilliant roaster, even with last season's champion White Sheep and runners up of T-Show and Kevin Zunneberg in the mix. Let's see whether or not those graduates can put on a show in Brazil. But first up is this lot of F2 drivers. As from my understanding, it should be a dry race, but with the clouds in the sky, there could be a chance of rain. If there is rain, however, definitely keep that in mind for the strategy. It will be hectic. Harm happy with 2 front row starts in a row. It was P2 in Zandvoort, and it is pole position here today. Only if he could convert that in the races, he would definitely be in the title fight. Unfortunately for him, his best finish of the season only being 8th place, and that was in a fairly hectic finale of a Baku GP, and then 2 9ths in Austria and Zandvoort, just to put his points tally on 7 so far. Hoping that with this race he can double that come the end of today, as Tiago has just gave us the ready up. We will be going racing in a few moments. Don't go anywhere, as I can guarantee you this is going to be one hell of a race. Now, the lights flicking up one by one. 5 red lights are up. They're now going, and all the drivers are underway here for PSGL PSF2 here in Brazil. It's Harm versus Yannick, but unfortunately Yannick cannot do any harm. He'll try and look around the outside, but the Williams has it all under control as they go racing down the Retroposta. There's Passi Italia getting up on those high raised curbs, now plummeting down the field. Spiga and Diogo Silva either side of the Haas, trying to do as much damage as possible, as there goes Diogo Silva. The Alpine goes round, and now all the way down to the back of the field as you have Wards trying to pick up places immediately. 2 places so far after just 6 corners, going through Ferragiro, wheel to wheel with Christian. Big bulls indeed between the Racing Bulls and the Ferrari. Is it going to be Wards? Is it going to be Christian as they continue the fight? But the Racing Bulls on the harder compound will win this time round, as the drivers very rapidly rounding off the first lap of this race. As up towards turn 1, they go once again with Harm leading by 7/10 over Nick here in Brazil. Whether or not Yannick can fight back into the first corner, we are about to find out. As the gap closes, it's just not enough, as DRS is now in play from here on out. As long as you're within 1 second of the car ahead, you can use it in one of the 2 DRS zones. That is up towards turn 1 and through the Retro-Posta down to turn 4, as you could just see there. But the cars all out in this early stage, no remorse whatsoever. But just bear in mind, everyone's on the mediums apart from Wards. He knows this has to be a recovery drive for their championship. VCARB 1 point behind Haas in the constructors. Thiago, the only Racing Bull, fighting in the top 5, whilst Yannick, the only Haas, fighting in the top 5. And unfortunately, they're both sitting 3rd and 4th. So every single point Ward can get will just be 1 less point, in which Haas can use to their advantage. As you can see, the possible strategies: either to stop doing 2 13-ish lap stints on the mediums, then go to the softs, or go mid-race on those mediums and go to the hards on a simple 1 stop. As Nick putting all the pressure onto Harm in this race, can he finally put a nail in the Williams coffin, who managed to get pole? He will not be able to defend this time into turn 4, and it's the Papaya, the championship leader, who will go through and up into your race lead now as they work their way up towards Ferraguro and Laranja, keeping it all clean. No ambitious moves, as the Williams definitely looking like they are starting to walk themselves backwards a bit, almost immediately on the back foot, with Yannick pushing that gearbox of the Mercedes Power Unit Williams car round the track. As you can see, such an unnervy car going through Vico de Pato, had no comfort whatsoever. As now rounding the final corner up the hill towards turn 1, is Harm going to have enough top speed to put the pressure on to Nick? DRS wide open, that gap going from 6/10 down to 4, down to 3, and even 2, as there's a possibility of a lunge. They won't go for it, but Yannick getting so perilously close to the rear end of the Williams. As you can see, NB72 versus Spiga. Spiga managing to work their way around the Williams, as it looks like it's not just Harm who is struggling in these early stages with those mediums compared to others, as the Williams goes off the road. And now Yannick all over the back of him. Will he be able to go for it? No, he won't, as Harm getting as well very close to the rear end of Nick. Everyone just so bunched up and compact in this race, but that is what you would love to see here at such an easy race for overtaking, as it's definitely a Nick train here in Brazil, as he just seems unable to pull out of that 1 second. He was able to do it with ease on the opening lap, getting past Harm on lap 2, but since then just hasn't had the pace to pull away as such. But it's very early doors, only lap 5 now of 36. You can see the Williams getting close up on entry. Nick having a little front left lock up in the process, but nothing to unsettle them so far. DRS will be wide open for the Williams as they try and reverse the result from the end of lap 2, just unable to get close enough for a lunge this time round. As again up towards Ferraguro for the 5th time this race, you can just see the Williams starting to drop back from the McLaren, who really does look like they have got a clear race ahead, almost as if they aren't going to get threatened, as Harm almost out of the DRS range, and as a result means he will be near enough defenseless again into turn 1, and that should be surely when Yannick chooses to strike, as the gap 1.1 for the Williams going over the detection zone. He will not get to enable that rear flap, but the Haas will. They'll close in up towards turn 1. Harm using as much battery as possible to reduce the possible damage to his race. That can be done as Yannick throwing it all over turn 1. No remorse whatsoever as Junkie Angle and Ward's fighting for position. Junkie Angle holding on to that 11th place as Yannick into P2. And then Passy overtaking MV72 for 6th as Harm and Tiago both go back up through against Yannick, trying to keep it pinned to the inside through turn 5 and 6 even for turn 7. Just didn't manage. As there's contact, round goes Tiago. Yannick being the catalyst to that. Such a shame for the championship contender. Definitely will be argued. To be honest, I didn't see that coming, as I thought they were going to be able to make it out alive. Unfortunately, Tiago sent round, and that is Racing Bull's races definitely squandered, and their hopes of a win down the drain here in Barcelona in such an early state, as well as Nick already on an imperious drive, 1.2 seconds clear from Harm, who's actually got 1 second over Spiga, so they can actually relax and defend for a while. As Passy, the first car with DRS on this grid, that is against Spiga in the Mercedes, who is hopefully going to speed up to the back of the Williams and reignite the spark in the fight for second here today, as they again just try all they can. There's so many different lines you can see these drivers taking, but they're all just as effective as the other. As you can see, Passy taking wider apexes than Spiga, and that's giving them a bit more traction on the exit, a bit more rotation on the steering lock as a result, and just able to get them more traction on the exit compared to the Mercedes. But for the Mercedes, they're able to just put that foot down on the floor as they all go darting to the first corner here, with near enough a quarter of this race done, as Danilo versus Ward's on the inside through the third part of the yeses, and up ahead on the Mercedes. That is P8 now for the man on the comeback drive. Will he be able to complete it in full is the question. He's gone from 13th to 8th in the first 8 laps here today, and with the way he's going, he can definitely work himself all the way to the front come the end of it all. As Ward's just slowly but surely shimmying themselves up to the back of Ferrari Bell B. The hard compound tyres definitely becoming the stronger compound in this race. Those mediums wearing out a bit more, not having as much grip, as much pace, and that is allowing this Racing Bulls to become a big threat in the competition for the win. But DRS on Bell B, will he be close enough to pull a lunge out of his back pocket? Junkie Angle did look at it for a brief moment on Danilo. He may have the exit on the Mercedes, however the Alpine getting so close on the exit, in fact, that he's just going to try and make himself known in the mirrors. Look to the inside through Ferradura, didn't have the pace and the width of a car to squeeze down there, but through Bico to Pato you can clearly see who is on the back foot in this battle for 9th, as it's just battles galore out on track. Whereas for Tiago, the man hoping to compete for the win, currently in no man's land with front wing damage, as Spiga overtakes Harm for second place. As you can see, Wards versus Bell B. Wards to the outside for turn 1, locking up the front left for good measure, and into P7 here today. That being another place out of the way, one less car to think about between him and a second win of the season out of those currently in the top 7 on track. 4 of them have already won this season. The only 3 who haven't are the 2 Williams and Yannick in the Haas. So, with laps fading, we are quite quickly approaching the pit window for the medium compounder tyres. If you were debating a 12 lap stint race and then softs, you'd be looking about 2 laps time, whereas if you're looking for the one stop, you may want to wait it out to about lap 15 before considering a dart into the pit lane. But for Tiago in this race, he knows he's already too far back, so he's going to accept defeat and put on the hards, as Danilo has had a nothing, has got wing damage as a result. I wonder if it was a spin, maybe contact with another driver, or just a pure driver error. As Nick has got some competition on his hands now. He's been left undisputed for quite some time, just had that 1.4 second threshold over everyone else, not having any threat of DRS into turn 1 or turn 4. But now that has changed. Spiga 6 tenths back, going past the detection point. Could the Mercedes be in pursuit for the win? But no, into the pits goes the Mercedes, trying to get it down, but doesn't manage to do so. It is a 10 seconds for speeding into the pits, as Wards making a move on Yannick for P5, as Bell B and Danilo all joining the Mercedes in that pit lane. It's a shame for Spiga, knowing that is most likely his race out of the window, unless he can gap the field and pull out a 10-second advantage over the majority of these guys. Then we may see some hope at points. As you can see, Yannick jumping all over those curves, fighting for dear life with the car. Just shows how worn out these mediums are after 12 laps of hardcore racing here in Sao Paulo. As round the final corner, up the hill they're about to go. Are they going to join Spiga in the pits in the result of covering Bell B and Danilo? Into the pits goes Yannick, but Wards DRS on NB72. To the inside goes the Racing Bulls, and through they go, giving themselves the room. And Harm in third place now, after being overtaken by Passy. Sorry about the yawn, just shows I'm tired. But yeah, Wards on the back of Harm, about to make it third place in this race. As for those who have all just joined, just seen quite a big influx of drivers. Hope you're having a great day. You've joined 13 laps into the race. You had Harm start on pole with a sublime lap on the soft compounder tyres, just to eke out a 1/10 advantage over Yannick in this race. Nick took the lead early on and has defended it brilliantly since then, but recently Spiga, Yannick, Prairie Bell B, Christian and Danilo have all opted for an early pit stop to try and undercut and go against the grain, as Wards has been on a comeback charge, as you've just witnessed. Third place being overtaken by said Racing Bulls all race with a bit of contact between Yannick and Thiago on lap 7 roughly. That saw Thiago go for a little spin and put himself pretty much down and out in this race, fighting Danilo over 13 on track at the moment, as strategy split down the middle. But action very much not over with here today. 4 tenths in the top 2, Nick versus Passy, and then Ward just gleaming in the background, his eyes poising themselves wide and wider as every single corner goes by. He can just see that gap to the car ahead shrinking little by little. It's now 3 tenths here, such a minimal gap. Into the pits comes Passy, trying to escape the humiliation of being overtaken from the man who started in 13th today, as now it's Ward versus Nick. Your fight for the lead now started 13th and 3rd. It's now 1st and 2nd for them. Ward's to the inside, and through goes Ward's to take the lead in the first time of asking. The overtakes come into his beg and call with no effort needed whatsoever. Those hards have just sprung into life, had a big elixir all of a sudden, and that has made it very clear who is the boss here in PSF2, even though unfortunately Ward's sitting 21 points back in this championship. Even if everyone ahead of him all failed to finish today and Ward's won, it would not be enough to give him the lead. It'd only in fact be enough to give him 4th in the standings, as it'd slot him in between Thiago and Spiga for 3rd. As into the pits has came Nick and Harm in the McLaren and Williams, leaving Wards as the only driver to pit in this race. The question will be, whereabouts does the papaya come out compared to the rest of the field? Because Spiga 6 seconds off into the view in that Mercedes. They of course hold a 10-second penalty, but for Nick in the McLaren, he is going to come out in P7, just behind Christian. Will they be able to make a move immediately? No, they won't. They won't have immediate impact on those fresh, hard compound tyres. But now Nick all over the back of Christian, trying to look either side for a possible lunge, as this has not gone well whatsoever for those trying to go longer. What is good, however, is that they will have those fresher tyres for the latter stage of this stint, because I'm assuming all 12 of those drivers who have pitted so far are looking at the 1-stop. Thiago, however, may eye up a 2-stop due to the very early pit of about lap 11. It's salvageable, but the tyres will be on braking point as Passy, fastest lap of the race. Is Yannick going to cooperate in the Haas car? Their gap in the championship, 21 points. Yannick peels to the inside, doesn't fight it too hard against Passy, and through goes the man with the purple Sector 1 and fastest lap of the race. He is on pursuit for Spiga now, as that is brilliant team play for the secondary driver at Haas. They kind of knew what they had to do and just did it so flawlessly without any repetition of team orders. But Nick, 10 seconds for corner cutting and gaining a place, supposedly. I wonder who that was on, because I didn't quite see the overtake. But Nick now having to deal with the consequences. DRS on Bell B, however, will they be able to overtake the Sauber into turn 1? Yes, they will. very nicely and rather easily here. But Yannick just pulling himself along with Spiga. The Haas not really going much slower than their teammate in this race, but Prairie Belbelby making the move again into turn 4, and Nick trying to fight back, looking to the outside for Ferrodur. Does he go to the inside? No, he won't. He'll follow the Sauber round, as he is definitely being pushed, so he will lunge it into turn 8. There's NB72 also capitalising on the lunge sent by the McLaren. He had to follow through, otherwise he'd be losing his race. But Belbelby getting all elbows out, trying all they can to keep themselves in that contention with double the tyre life. Then the Williams, it just does not seem too appealing whatsoever for Prairie Belbelby to hang on and survive here in Brazil. Yannick 3 seconds for track limit. Unfortunate for the Haas drivers. Harm also getting 3 seconds for track limits as well, as MB72 using DRS to try and close in on Nick, as Harm goes to the outside of Belbelby, getting pushed off the road in the process. The Sauber giving no room whatsoever to their competitors, which is stuff we would absolutely love to see more often here in PSGL. All out aggressive racing, but these drivers have such high quality, it's so difficult to see a lapse in concentration that leads to a letdown in this race. As dearie me, I don't know why, I just keep yawning away. As Yannick still hanging on the back with Passy quite nicely, but they are dropping the gap to Spiga in the Mercedes. That gap over the last 2 or 3 laps has dropped by a second, so the pursuit is on, as Wards is still extending that stint till he very much can't extend anymore, as I do think it's near enough a position in which he may come out in amongst Thiago. When is the F1 PC series starting? I'll be brutally honest, I am not too certain. I would have assumed it's starting this week, as I'll check attendance. Yeah, round 7 this week for Singapore. PS is your Monday divs. You've got PSF2 now, PSF1 starting in 5 minutes, hopefully, well, 5 to 10 for qualifying. Then about 8:30 you have the main race for PSF1, and if you really wanted to, PSF3 runs concurrently with that division. Then you come back on Thursday for PC, F1, F2, F3 and F4, as Botti don't think there'll be PC F1. To be fair, I don't even know, I don't follow the PC side as much, but yeah, I can guarantee you PC F2 to 4 is on. To be fair, PC F1 probably won't be on, with the F1 Esports Championship also on at the same time. But that's just me guessing at this point. But yeah, PC F1 usually is a Wednesday race as well, so bear that in mind. But anyways, back to the action. As Yannick closing in on Passy, still quite a bit, but a bit further back is Junkie Angle, who has just gained P8 in this race on Prairie Belbelby. The Sauber walking backwards in this race for Bell B. It's been a mediocre season. 7th, 6th and 9th in the 3 races they finished, and 2 DNFs. Alongside it with a DNF in that season opener, it was quite a big crash, to be honest with you, in Spain. And also a fairly awkward one. They were in the fight for the podium. The final lap, they just went flying off the road and into the barrier. As then in Austria, I believe that was just a typical retirement. Just got fed up with the race, didn't like the stance they were in. But then P7 in Baku, P9 in Kota, and then P6 last week as Wards is into the pits. The Racing Bulls plummeting down the order. Whereabouts are they going to come out is the question I would like to hypothesize. In front of Diogo Silva in the Alpine. It's going to be close as the Alpine goes through the first corner now. You could actually briefly see for a moment the Racing Bulls coming down the pit exit. As you can now see, they'll go racing up towards turn 4. Is it going to be the Alpine or is it going to be the Racing Bulls? It will be Wards who is ahead, and they're on the mediums, hopefully, to go to the end as well with this race. So it will be an absolute pursuit and a half for them. Change their name from racing to charging, and that is what you are going to get with Wards between now and lap 36, checkered flag. So let's see how this all unravels, as he's already blitzing away from one of the Alpines and up to the back of the other. Purple middle sector on their outlap. The pace is indefinitely there. As up towards turn 1, that gap already within a second of Junkie Angle. They'll get DRS up towards turn 4. Are they going to be quick enough to immediately get by? Will be the question. But we can ride on board with Wards now. Closing in, closing in, closing in. Just not close enough to execute anything this time round. Whilst you can actually see Nick versus the 2 Williams. A very interesting battle that's brewing here. 5th and 6th for the Williams-based team. Their best result this season, 8th. Their best point scoring race last time out with 8th and 9th. That was 5 points to their championship. They're currently sitting on 11. But a double top 5 would be an amazing result, and I'd guarantee you the 2 Williams drivers would be ecstatic with it, as that won't just promote themselves up into 7th and 6th in the drivers, but probably maybe even 5th if Bell B drops out of the points. As you can see, NB72 fighting it through the S's as there's contact between NB72 and Nick. Dropping down goes the papaya as Wards is now chirping in, seeing whether or not he can pick up the crumbs, as the Williams still to the inside for turn 4, having to give as much space as possible. As into Laranjan Ferraguro, no room for NB72 to go past Nick, and then forces Wards off and goes round the Williams, dropping the rear end there. Not ideal whatsoever. I've just jinxed it about how they could be facing a double top 5, and now it's 4th and 8th for them, with Wards in hot pursuit of both the McLaren and the other Williams of harm. Will the Racing Bulls be able to get these moves done soon, or will they have to fight it out? Because they've got 8 seconds between 4th and 3rd in this race to the inside of Nick, and through into P5. A very nice move indeed. Not too complicated, which is exactly what the Racing Bulls needs in this race, as I can confirm to you. Tiago is on the 2-stop and on the mediums to certainly go to the end. He'll just have to hope for a few DNFs to come between now and the final lap, just to give him that P10. He'll be happy with points where possible. But even if they don't take points, they'll just have to recuperate and come back at it in the following week at Singapore, a very difficult track, one based around track position. But hopefully Thiago can find his footing once more, because of course the DNS last week did not partake in general, and then unfortunately a collision with Yannick, who's running in third, has seen his race pretty much go from possible points to nothing in almost an instant. Just put him on that back foot from such an early stage, and I can tell you that has not helped any of their egos, as Yannick probably will be facing a penalty for it based off how the Studs rule it. Could be, could not be, as Ward's still stuck behind Harm as round the final corner. They go now up towards turn 1. The Racing Bulls will have DRS on the Williams. You can see the rear wing flap opening now, as to the inside they're going to go. The Williams left defenceless, and that is now your man in hot pursuit up into 4th place here. As to be fair, he just has to overtake Passy on track to win this race, as long as he doesn't get another penalty. Well, as long as he doesn't get a penalty, as Yannick and Spiga both with penalties of their own. Spiga 10 seconds for speeding into the pit lane, went for an early undercut, miscalculated the braking distance and went just over the speed limit. Then Yannick, track limit infringements have managed to disease his race, and that is just unfortunate. But you can already see Wards has gained a second on Yannick this lap. The hunt will be on, ladies and gents, so don't go anywhere, as you also have a fight for 8th on track brewing. NB72 versus Diogo Silva, Christian and Bell B, all of them within DRS range of one another. Can Diogo maybe make a move on the Williams? They'll have DRS on them as they work their way up towards turn 1. Harm gets track limits. Nick also gets track limits, as great minds do tend to think alike, but when it's a dumb move, maybe not as such. As Diogo Silva to the outside for turn 4. MB72 on the inside. You can see the Williams trying to squeeze the Alpine out, but the Alpine's unfazed, not going to go anywhere, as NB72 pretty much just tried turning into the Alpine as if he was a corner. As now the Williams defending the place. Whether or not the Alpine would have liked the defence, we will find out in due course, but for the time being, that's the Williams holding on to 8th place in this race, as we have just started lap 30 of 36. PS F1 and F3 should have started by now for those interested. If you want to hop there, go at it, but if you want to stay for the action instead of qualifying, you're in the right place, as Christian tried looking to the inside on Diogo Silva for P9, but Diogo Silva managing to make a late move in defence to cover off the threat from the Ferrari, as Christian is looking for his second set of points this season. He got some in Kota, but he's had an 11th, 14th and 2 DNFs in the other events, making him the sole source of Ferrari points. And now you have the Ferrari racing in P10. They've pulled away from Bell B, so it's almost certain that he will get some points as long as he doesn't do a Christian special and christen us with a fair few spins in various places. He's quite known for that this season. He's probably spun about 12 times in the last 3 races that I've been at alone. But Spiga versus Passy. Passy has just granted himself the race lead. That puts 2 cars between the leader and Wards today. So will Wards be able to win? Currently 7 seconds off. He's going to have to drive like he's never drove before if he wants to get the points, as we are about to find out in the next 5.5 laps whether or not Passy will take their second win or Wards will take their second win, because it's safe to assume Yannick and Spiga are both out of this race with their respective penalties, as Bell B gets 3 seconds for multiple track limit warnings up towards turn 1. Spiga just about gets DRS on the Haas, hoping to try and mount a counter attack this time round. Through turn 1, however, just unable to get close enough to pounce, but hoping that the run out of turn 3 down the Retro Posta will give them a glimmer of hope that this race isn't quite yet done, as these drivers are driving these tyres to a thread, probably a thread much thinner than that white line determining your track limits, as Bell B has opted out of this race. That's their third DNF of the season, second in 3, which is not a pleasant sight whatsoever. Sauber, unfortunately, feeling woeful, knowing it's another missed opportunity for points. And for Williams, currently looking at about 9 points in their tally, will put them just 4 points off the Sauber constructor for when we go to Singapore in a week's time. For round 7 of this 10 race championship, you've got Singapore, Belgium, Abu Dhabi and then Saudi Arabia left between now and when the checkered flag falls for this season. Approximately the 27th of April. So I can actually say I'll be 18 come the time this season ends. But Wards just sitting there, closing in. He's not closing in at an alarming rate, but he is going quick enough to give himself the places for second and third on penalties. He just has to find a 10th on Yannick, and that should be a done deal for them. As you can see, Nick and Junkie Angle fighting over 6th on track, as I'm going to show you the drivers' penalties in this race, just to put it into perspective. As things would end now, Yannick would get P2 just due to Wards being outside that 3 seconds. He's now in that, so it'll be P3 for Yannick. That'll be the second time this season the Haas team, in fact, take home double podiums. They did it out in Austria with a Passy win and a Yannick third, and it'd just be a full circle moment for them if they were to repeat themselves in such manner. As Christian getting 3 seconds for track limits, but Harm will be coming on P5, no shadow of a doubt about that. Unless they get another 3 seconds, then it'll be Diogo Silva who takes that, but Nick will drop behind both Junkie Angle, Diogo Silva and probably the likes of NB72 and Christian. Junkie Angle probably doing the same thing, so that top 10 will look quite different come the end of this race. As now, 2 laps to go here in Brazil. Looks like Wards will not be able to catch Passi, and it will be a second win this PSGL season for the Italian. As there goes Janky Angle to the inside for turn 1. He will get the brakes put on in time and gains P6 on Nick, as NB72 just tucked in behind on the Diogo Silva, whilst Nick DRS on Junkie Angle wasn't close enough to go for it. So we're back to the other Alpine who's racing NB72. Yellow flags for Christian, who's going slowly at the moment. Tiago knows what he has to do in this race. However, we'll quickly go back to those penalties just to show you that Tiago will have to gain the place on track in order to score points. He can't be doing any of the off-track shenanigans for those points. Has to be done on pure merit. He'll have to work hard for it, as Passi has entered your final lap here today, his victory lap as such, but an opportunity still looms for positions to swap on track for 8th and 9th, even though they will not be adjusted in the finishing order on the basis they stay the way they are. It will still be Diogo Silva who beats NB72 come the end of this lap, but through the S's up towards the Retroposta we now go. Can NB72 make a lunge on Diogo Silva? He's just a bit too far back. He won't be able to do so, but who has been able to pull off a brilliant race. Started 4th here today. Looked like the odds were against him from an early stage, with Nick being such an imperious driver, especially at the start. But it's going to be Passi who rounds the final corner here for PSGL PSF2 round 6. It's Passi to become a double winner here this season. First driver to do so. Spiga will come home second, Yannick third, but Wards will complete a 13th to second place comeback. A stellar drive for the Racing Bulls today. Definitely drive of the day worthy, as Diogo Silva and NB72 now crossing to make it a 5th and 8th for Williams, a 6th and 7th for Alpine. The two constructors pretty much matching in whatever they do. Equal points today for them. As Harm says, I'm so ass, as he's managed to go from 2nd to 9th in Zandvoort to 1st to 5th here today. As you can see, Passi on the podium, celebrating what is a championship defining win as things stand. It will give him the championship lead, and he should hopefully have it by quite a distance. According to my brief calculations, you're looking at about 10 points in this championship for the Haas driver of Passi, and for the constructors that is only going to be in the double digits, that margin. A brilliant performance for Haas. Another double podium. Only other team to get a double podium this season was Racing Bulls at Kota, where was Tiago second and Wards in third. But Wards definitely loving life, almost looking like the number 1 driver here with an imperious drive, as we unfortunately aren't going to get the race results from that. But what I can tell you is that it will be Passi who leads the championship entering Singapore in a week's time. I hope you guys have all enjoyed, and I'm going to go off and get some sleep now. But that's been me, and I'll see you all hopefully in Singapore. Goodbye.